morning, everyone. It is Rollie, and welcome back to Chatting with Wisdom. I'm super excited that you guys are here. Chatting with Wisdom is always about being able to empower women. So we have incredible speakers that come forward that share their knowledge and their expertise and the things that they're passionate about. So I am super excited to be talking about mind-body connection today. And so we're here with Deborah Chalk, and she's a certified Wayfinder life coach and an endorsed mind-body magic coach who loves helping clients creatively problem solve to find new ways forward and embrace a new way of being. If you've been feeling stuck, like nothing is changing in a situation that you have been actively trying to change, despite putting in the effort to create that change, there is hope. Deborah can empower you with mind-body magic and law of attraction tools that you can add to your existing toolbox to help keep you off that treadmill and on and out on your trail. So welcome, Deborah. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really well. How are you, Rollie?
I'm great. So for those of you who are just jumping on, welcome. And for those of you who are catching the replay, #replay, let us know that you're catching the replay. And because we'd love to be able to have you join in on the conversation. So tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. Well, you might be able to tell from my accent, but I'm Scottish. So I was born in Glasgow, grew up in Glasgow, and went to university in Glasgow and studied English and philosophy. At the time when I graduated, there weren't very many jobs in Scotland. So I ended up, my first job was in a merchant bank in London, in the city of London, and a road directly behind the Bank of England. So, you know, as city London as you could get. And I was there for about a year and just thought, I really cannot see myself doing this for the rest of my career. This is not me at all. So a sense of, you know, I'd ticked all the boxes in terms of work hard, do well at school, and get a good job. And then was thinking, well, this doesn't feel as good as I hoped it would. In fact, this is just not me. I'm a creative person. What on earth am I doing here? And so I had to kind of go back to the chalkboard and figure out what I was going to do next with my life. So I made another huge mistake and went into the Navy, which wasn't right for me either. And then I trained as a teacher, and that was more the direction I was meant to be going in. I worked as a teacher for about 5 years in the state sector and the private sector, and really enjoyed it. But it was stressful, long hours. I'm sure anybody watching this as a teacher will know how what long hours teachers do. And also, we were moving a lot with my husband's career, and it was just really hard to keep changing schools. So I was always reading self-help books, and have loved self-help books all my life. Well, you know, from about age 12 or 13, obviously not when I was 2.
And, really? You weren't reading them when you were 2?
I really wasn't, no. But from my teens, I was reading self-help books and went on this big journey of creative discovery, did lots of creative courses, studied creative writing, art history, photography, floristry, and I worked with a coach in this search for, okay, so what am I going to do next? And she said, you're really into all this coachy stuff, aren't you? Why aren't you being a coach? And I was like, well, you know, that's not the kind of job that the careers advisor mentioned. You know, it's not doctor, lawyer, teacher, all the ones like that. And I had this hang up about, oh, I'm not sure about it. What will people think? And all of that. And then with working with a coach, I was able to give myself the permission. And part of it is always about giving yourself the permission, not waiting for somebody else to give you the permission. I gave myself the permission to do what I wanted to do. And this was back in 2013. I trained as a coach with Dr. Martha Beck, who's an incredible coach. I'd been reading her column in the Oprah magazine when I was in my 20s. And so if there was anybody that I was going to have train me to be a coach, it would be Dr. Martha Beck. So I did her amazing coach training in 2013, started my coaching practice then. And then last year, I did the Mind Body Magic coach training, which has been incredible. And I've loved using those tools with clients. I'm also a mother. I've got a wonderful daughter who turns 12 tomorrow. And I have a rescue doggie called Tess, who's underneath my desk at the moment. So she's joining in with us on this recording. And my husband, who's also amazing. We've been married 22 years this year. So I love being in the British countryside. I've just come back from a walk in the countryside. I love doing ballet to keep fit. I just have come to a place where I'm doing things that I really enjoy in my life. And that wouldn't have happened if I'd stayed doing the things that I didn't enjoy.
And one of the things that I couldn't help but chuckle when you had said about the Navy, right? So you're talking about being a creative person, and like that is probably the least creative spot to ever be, right? Because everything is all regimented and it needs to be, but it's like definitely not a position for creative. So that really made me chuckle.
I think there are very creative leaders and creative people within the armed forces, but the training was not at the time designed that way. I think it's changed, and they do encourage a lot of creativity.
Oh, awesome.
It was more for me the physical side of it and physical safety. So I'm not in my most comfortable when I'm doing an assault course. Or I'm not in my most comfortable when I'm sleeping on Dartmoor and things like that. So it was about, you tune into your body and you think to yourself, does this feel comfortable for me? Does this light me up? Does this bring me joy? And it took me a long time to actually listen to what I wanted. I think there's a lot of safety in the things that I did as well. Some things like, a merchant bank, you think, oh, well, that's going to lead to financial safety. It's a well-respected job. There are safety in these things. And I think that people sometimes do them because of that perceived safety.
And it really is. And so it's just really interesting that you're talking about mind-body connection this week, because this week I'm doing a free workshop, and it's called Loving Acceptance of Yourself. And that's one of the things that we're talking about are all the different aspects of like being able to. So yesterday, the topic was about sensing, right? So being able to connect with your senses. And so, and I love how the universe just aligns things the way that it's supposed to, right? So you applied for this specific topic in this call like months ago. And ironically, it fits with what it is that we're doing and that we're talking about inside my Facebook group. So I've shared this into the Facebook group. So I'm hoping that some of them that are in the class are going to have had a chance and opportunity to be able to listen, because I really do believe that it really connects with what's going on and what's happening within our body. Because I think that's our biggest teacher, isn't it?
Absolutely. I love that you're helping people to tune into that, to what they are feeling within themselves. I think that we're sometimes always looking for the answers outside ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that this is exacerbated even further with our connection with technology, because before we had the internet back in those days, if you wanted to find something out, you had to plan a trip to the library and you had to, search out the reference section and go and meet the librarian. So you got to know your local librarian and all of that.
Yeah.
And the information that you looked at was probably a bit out of date too. And here we are in this wonderful but also crazy situation that anything we're not sure about, we can just type it into a computer and we get some kind of, Google's answer to whatever our conundrum is. And it encourages you you get into the pattern of looking for answers outside of yourself. And I was absolutely in that pattern, Rollie, particularly as somebody who, I said to you, I love reading books. I love reading self-help books, and I still love them. But it's realizing that your answers are within yourself. You can connect with your body. You can bring your energy into your body. You can protect your own energy from all the things that are happening with you. And there are practices that, I take clients through to help them to be able to do that. Yeah. This was not where I was before. The academic world as well teaches you to be up in your head. You're a learner. You take in information. You use that information, you give the information back in new and creative ways. But it's all about taking information in from somewhere else rather than actually listening to yourself. And when you start a practice of listening to yourself, it feels strange. It feels like, oh, who am I to listen to myself? Is this not selfish? Is this not big-headed? Should I not be listening to the, in quotes, experts? But, part of what you're doing is being the guide to help people listen to their own wisdom. And you're modeling that also that's possible, that there are people who are actually thinking, well, I'm not going to just Google how I should do this or how I should, there are things where it's handy. Yesterday I was icing my daughter's birthday cake and there was a tear in the icing and I thought, oh, how am I going to sort this out? And, YouTube video, and there I was patching it up. Yeah. There are things where it is useful, but there are also things where when you're deciding what to do with your life, for example, how to spend your days, how much rest you need, how much play you need, all of these kind of things, where listening to your heart, listening to your inner wisdom is just so important.
And it really is. And so, hey, Crystal, glad to see that you're joining us. And it really is that whole connection of what it is that happens, right? So, and everything that we do is all about what's going to be best for us, right? So we have different people who, like just using diet for an example, right? So it's like, oh, well, you should be following keto, or you should be following Atkins, or you should be following whatever, right? So you have all these different things, and different people are going to have different bodies, and different things are going to be working for somebody different, right? So with me is that I need to be eating meat. Like, I know that is something, but if you talk to somebody who's vegan or vegetarian, it was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing, right? But like, it's all about what it is that works best for us. And the only one who's going to know what works best for us is us. And we know the things that don't work best for us, even though we continue to do some of those things, right? So it's still important for us to be able to listen to that whole, listen to that and trusting ourselves. And a lot of people that I deal with have grown up being taught that they're not supposed to listen to themselves, that they're supposed to listen to the experts. And one of the things that I challenge people is that they're the expert of themselves.
Yeah.
Right? There's no one else that's going to know you better than you.
Absolutely. It's trusting that, and it's practicing it. And, there are simple ways that people can start to practice it. I think that when I was very first doing this, before I learned a lot of the mind-body tools, a really simple way I used to do it was started off with Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And you do the morning pages and you just write, freestyle in the mornings. But then I realized that from that, your inner wisdom starts to come through, and it starts to give you little nudges. And then you can ask your inner wisdom questions. You can say, this is the situation, inner wisdom, what should I do here? And sometimes it'll give you something. When you're first starting off, don't worry if nothing comes from inner wisdom. Just by starting to ask and starting to tune in, you're beginning to open that door. And it's almost like it wakes up. It says, oh my goodness, she's been ignoring me for so long. And she's starting to knock on the door. She's starting to bring round flowers or bring round some cake. Hey, I might turn up and we might have tea together. So just gently knock on the door. And before you knock on the door, another thing that really helps is just tuning in with your body. Now, you'll have some people that are listening to this who are already really in tune with their body. And I thought that I was, because, I'd always exercised, and you think that if you exercise, you're tuning in with your body. But you can actually have done exercise your whole life. You can even be doing yoga and be completely tuned out of your body. So it's actually being conscious of the body and the energy within the body. And if you've not done that before, you've never done that before, or you feel you're just living up in your head, a really simple hack to kind of get into doing that, it came from my coach and mentor, Abigail Morgan. And it's just, first of all, to tune into your feet. Just notice your feet, notice the surface that they're on, feel into your toes, the instep, the heel, just notice your feet. And then if you want to kind of go advanced, you can notice your belly or your breath at the same time. And that will just bring your energy down into your body. It will give you a sense of grounding. It will bring you out of your head. If your feet are comfortable, do the feet. If they're not comfortable, you do another part of the body, basically going as far away from the head as you can, because that brings you more down into the body.
And that's really interesting, because one of the things is that I used to teach, I still do it at different times, but like it was more relevant when I was actually working for a different agency. And so we would teach anger. And that was one of the things, is being able to get them to like focus on where their feet, because we get into that fight, flight, and freeze mode. And when we start to get angry, if we pay attention to our feet and make sure that our full surface is, it allows us to be able to stay grounded. Because if you actually pay attention to it, you're ready to run, you're ready to pounce, you're ready to go. And then the second place that we would actually get them to focus on after they focused on their feet was focus on your hands. Right? Because again, when you're ready to fight, you then become tense and clenched. So then it would be like, okay, so loosening your hands and releasing whatever it is that's going on. And then we would get into the breath. But that would be the first thing that we would actually get them to teach, that we would ask them to learn, is to be able to get into that solid ground, like get your feet on the ground. And so it's just really interesting when we actually listen to, like, where is that tension coming from? What is it that's happening? Are we ready to run? Right. And most of us, in a lot of cases, we're in that fight, flight, and freeze in all the situations that we're in, depending on what it is that's going on. So listening to our body is incredible. Right.
It's come up so much. And I think, people have been living in such a stressful situation over, the pandemic and all the changes that have come within that, and not having the routine and rhythms that sometimes make you able to go into the rest and digest and feel, more centered, more secure. So even in things that are not logical at all, your fight, flight, and freeze is coming up, because sometimes you don't know whether you're coming or going. Yeah. So I just think, when that happens, just take a little moment, stop yourself, and then you can think, okay, I'm going to tune back into my body, feel your feet, feel your breath, tune back in. And then you make the conscious decision of, I'm going to look at this a different way, or I'm going to see the wider picture on this, or you can also say things like, of course, this is stressful for me. Of course, this is triggering me. There's Sarah Papp, another coach that I work with, says, no wonder this is affecting me. Yeah. And then when you've kind of said that statement of bringing things back into your kind of conscious control of how you want to think, you can then again tune in with what your inner wisdom has to say on it. So you're bringing yourself back into your body, and then the second step is to make the conscious decision to turn the ship around, or notice that the ship is going off course, and make a statement about, no, this is the direction I'm going to head with this. No wonder I'm reacting this way. And then when you've done that, then tune in with your inner wisdom and say, okay, inner wisdom, this is the situation. What do you think? And sometimes the answer will come then. Sometimes the answer will come a little bit down the road. This is called mind whispering. And again, it's from Abigail Morgan's work. And it's something, there's so many thought work models that are in the coaching world. People listening will maybe have heard of Byron Katie's work. the work, it's called. Turning thoughts around. There's Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School teaches the self-coaching 101 model. Russ Harris teaches ACT therapy, so ACT. There are all these thought models where you take the thought and you basically, rather than just letting it roll and roll and roll, you're kind of being more conscious of the thought and deciding where you're wanting your thinking to go. But what I like about mind whispering is it brings the body connection into it. So I found that really helpful for myself, because otherwise when I do the very thought-based turnarounds, I sometimes stay caught up in the head spin.
Yeah. And it's really important for us to be able to listen. And there's going to be different tools that are going to work best for other people, right? So like you've mentioned a number of different tools, and some may work and some may not. And that's okay, right? So sometimes
Love it.
So, because and we get caught up on the, okay, well, yeah, but Deborah said that I should be doing this, right? So we get caught up in the, well, she knows what she's doing, she's been through it, but there's lots of tools that you have in your toolbox that if one thing doesn't work for somebody, then I'm sure that you have many things that you're able to pull out and share.
That's part of the fun for me of coaching, is having that toolbox and playing with it, and also saying to the people I'm working with, hey, here's the tools for you to go and use and play with, and then kind of see how it works for you. Also, different days, different things work as well. You'll find that one day one thing will work really well, and another day something else will. But you're so right. We sometimes get caught up again in other people being the expert, and you are your own expert. And even, I used to get that with business courses as well. If you've got any entrepreneurs watching this, you'll get these people telling you, their 10 steps to get this bigger business in this amount of time. And really, I went down that route, and it's not about somebody else's 10 steps. It's about yours. They need to be organic. They need to be from your heart, doing the things that you enjoy. And then that leads you into creating a business that is the business that you're meant to be leading, rather than a kind of carbon copy of somebody else's.
Yeah. And because we are a unique person, right? So, and same as like everybody who's listening to this today, is like, that is exactly it, is that you have that ability to choose the things that you want to be able to do and what works best for you and how it's going to work into your own perspective, and really being able to just tune in and listen, right? So one of the things that you have is you have a PDF guide for people on, is it a PDF guide? I shouldn't say that. Free guided meditation. So free guided meditation that you wanted to be able to share with people. So is that on your website, Deborah?
It's actually changed recently. So probably what I should do, Rollie, is I will give you the link for that, and you can put it on your different things if you like. And I'll give you it without a sign up so people can just play with it.
Okay. That sounds great.
It's changed recently. So it was a releasing tension meditation, which is just gorgeous. It's you do a body scan, which fits in completely with mind-body connection. So you do the scan up, I take you on the scan up through from your toes to your head. And then you imagine the golden elixir. So you imagine this kind of jug of golden elixir above your head. I always think of it as either like maple syrup or honey or just golden light. And then you imagine it going through you and taking away all of the tension, and it just swirls through your body, taking away all the tension. And then the tension all goes down into the ground. And then the earth recycles it into, positive life force energy. So I just like to do this, particularly in the morning. I find it's really nice. But again, other people will like to do it at different times. Yeah. I used to do it more often, right? In I was going through some of the training when we were right towards the start of the pandemic, and I used to do it even more often during the day when I needed to, just to feel a bit more calm, because we were in a situation where we had, there was no vaccine. We had no idea what was going to happen. It was very, very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not even knowing anything, right? So and that created a lot of anxiety for a lot of us, right? And globally, right? So
Yeah.
like it was completely global as to what it was going on. So but yeah, that's definitely one of the things that we want to be able to do. So for those of you who are watching, if you would like to be able to join in on the loving acceptance of yourself, that is still available for people to be able to join in. So I'm going to put the link in case you have not. Oops, that's not it. I'll put in the link so that if that helps, and as soon as I get the feedback from, not feedback, when I get the link from Deborah, then I will share that and be able to provide that to you as well, because it really is important for us to be able to listen in and tune in. And like you said, that meditation is just something that allows you to be able to just become more grounded, right?
Yeah. I also do like a kind of, you'll have come across this before, Rollie, I'm sure. I do a kind of grounding meditation where I imagine like a cord or roots going down from beneath me into the ground. They go down into the center of the ground and kind of lock into the center of the ground.
Yeah.
And those roots, or cord, or it can be a beautiful ribbon you can imagine, if you like. It goes with you wherever you need to go. So it can even go, you're on the school run, you're in the car, you can still be rooted and grounded, because of course it's got that magic to it. You can still be rooted or grounded wherever you go. This is just as somebody who's if you're sensitive, if the energies around you get to you, being grounded within a situation, or grounding yourself before you go out somewhere. This is something that's going to happen more, of course. We've all been stuck in our houses, and here we are needing to go out, and we're actually meeting people again. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a normal thing. The grounding can be really great to do before you're going into social situations. So I really recommend that. You can even, as you're sitting in your chair now, you can imagine like almost like grounding across the chair, that you're melting into the chair. Yeah. And just feeling that stability can really help. When you're speaking, your sense of presence. If you're on a stage or you're speaking to people or you're speaking to a group, grounding yourself is going to make you more present. And people are going to feel that as much as what you're saying to them.
Yeah. And it's just really important for us to be like, because that grounding is definitely one of those biggest things, right? So one of the things that because I deal with a lot of people who have anxiety, so it's about being able to and that grounding in terms of being able to connect to your five senses, right? So what do you see, what do you smell, what do you hear, what do you touch, what are you tasting, right? So what are all those, and being able to tap into that brings us again right back into our body. So being able to do the grounding allows us to be able to feel, and that we can feel ourselves touching. So what, because we're both sitting right now, what does it feel like, right? So that my knees are at the back of my chair, and I can feel the back of my chair on my lower back, and I can feel my entire buttocks on the chair. And those are the kinds of things that brings us back into the present moment of what are we noticing? What are we feeling?
It's so simple, and it just makes such a difference.
It does.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us this morning, and I am super excited to be able to hear your meditation. So looking forward to being able to share that with everybody who's listening. And for everyone else, I will see you guys on Wednesday. We're going to be going back to Wednesday next week, and we will come forward again with an incredible lady who is going to share some more empowering information. So I will chat with all of you guys later, and have a fabulous day. Bye for now.